In today's video, we're going to talk about 5 Black historical fiction that I believe deserves more love. Now, these aren't books that you're going to be seeing all over BookTube, but they are books that I read that I truly enjoyed. My name is Raquel. This is where we come to celebrate and explore Black books. I picked up A Harlem Wedding by Tiffany L. Warren. Now, when it comes to Tiffany L. Warren, I don't really have to know what the book is about. I'm going to read it anyway because I am a Tiffany L. Warren fan. However, all weddings are not based on just love. And when it comes to this book, that might be true. So, A Harlem Wedding is about W.E.B. Du Bois's daughter, Yolande Du Bois, and her marriage to renowned poet Countee Cullen. Now, on the surface, it definitely looks like her father pressured her to marry Countee Cullen. And, well, he did. But throughout reading this book, I realized that Yolande was not necessarily somebody who could be pushed that easily to do anything, including by her father. She is a debutante. She is a social butterfly. And throughout all these different activities and outings and clubs and things that she did, her father would not have been happy about quite a few things that she did, yet she did them anyway. My opinion is that she used her father as a scapegoat. So if it did not go right, she can always say he made me do it. There's another love interest, a guy named Jimmy. Now, Jimmy doesn't have the social standing. He does not have the family, the backing, and all these things that Yolande and Countee Cullen has. So I believe that she made a choice. She could choose love or she can choose the glamour of the Hollywood Renaissance, her social circles, just all of the things that come with being W.E.B. Du Bois's daughter. And I believe she chose them because she did not want to necessarily change the way she lived her life. With Countee Cullen, a lot of the things that she did, they did them together. With the other guy, Jimmy, theirs was more like a regular relationship, whereas with Countee Cullen, it just seemed like one big outing. Like it was always somewhere to go, to be seen, to dance, to, just all of these events. And so I don't think she really wanted her life to change very much. She did wait all the way until she graduated from college in order to get married. And I think I think that if she was pressured by her father to get married, she would have been married years before. I think her father is just the scapegoat, just in case it didn't go as well as suspected. This was a good book. I think that if you enjoy the Renaissance era, if you read Harlem Rhapsody, you will enjoy this book. I know that had I not read Harlem Rhapsody, I would not have enjoyed it as much. And I only say that because these two books complement each other. It'll fill in some of those blanks about W.E.B. Du Bois and Miss Fawcett. It also gives a little bit of Yolande and Countee Cullen and just the myriad of Harlem Renaissance people who go through this book. This was a really good book. I enjoyed it very much. One of the things that historical fiction is constantly teaching me is that resistance doesn't always look like a physical fight. So, with the next book, we have Night Wherever We Go. It is by Tracy Rose Payton. I came across this book because the author was talking about the book and I was intrigued. So, Night Wherever We Go is about uh, some black enslaved women. They're on this plantation that isn't quite going right. The plantation owner decides that he wants to increase the amount of enslaved people he has on his plantation. And instead of purchasing them, he is wanting to breed these women as though they're cattle. Well, once the ladies find out that that is what he's trying to do, they kind of like, yeah, no, we're not doing that. I'm sorry. And they start to plan and strategically and intentionally do what they can during a time, mind you, when they have very little agency over their bodies or pretty much their lives altogether. But they found a way to take agency over their bodies in this moment, and I loved it. When we talk about resistance to slavery, the thing that automatically comes to mind is fighting, escaping, rebelling, just all of these things. But these women did not have that. They strategically and intentionally took agency over their bodies without the plantation owners ever even knowing it. This was a great story. I love seeing these women be strategic and resilient and determined to not have babies that they didn't want. Like, you cannot just decide for me that I want to have a baby. Like, they did not want babies. They did not want to bring children. And I believe a little bit of them did also want to defy these people because they, you know, clocked like literally every movement they made down to going to the bathroom. So whatever agency they could take, they took. And this was awesome. I enjoyed this book so much. I will not ever stop talking about this book. The thing that I loved about this book was seeing the resilience, the determination, the intelligence, and the sheer will to survive. And I heard somebody say recently that you are standing here today because someone in your family line was strong enough, smart enough, resilient enough, determined enough that you were able to be here today. And like when you really, really just get into that and think of that, that is amazing. If you enjoy historical fiction centered around women, resilience, strength, and survival, I think that this would be the book. This is a book. Sometimes fighting back doesn't mean pulling out a weapon. Um, it can also mean using your mind. The next book is by Angela Jackson Brown. It is called Untethered, another book that I absolutely loved. It tugged at my heartstrings. Sometimes, as women, we do things that we are socialized to believe, things that we are told, or, just naturally being nurturers, helping other people. And sometimes we forget that we should be at the center of our own universe. So, the thing that caught my eye was this is a beautiful cover to me, but the story itself is what pulled me in. This is about a woman who is giving her everything to everybody else. She is a director of a boys' home, and she gives these children her all. She does not have any children. She has two twin brothers that she has helped her mom raise since her dad passed on earlier in life. And then there's also her mother, whom she takes care of. So she spreads herself fairly thin. And she has these little things that she does for herself, but the majority of her energy goes to other people. It's unfortunate that in order for her to find her happily ever after, something that she loves dearly, she has to lose it. But she does gain that sense of self, what she needs, what she wants, and starts to put herself to the forefront. Another thing that was really, really blew me away is that it wasn't until after I finished reading this book that I realized that the main male character, or her love interest, I don't know if that's the main male character, but her love interest was not a black man. And that was truly like shocking to me because I read the entire book and it wasn't until after that I realized that he was not a black man. But it's either a testament to her writing or I'm not a very good reader. And I think I'm a pretty good reader. I think. So yes, Untethered was really, really a good story. I think that it touches on how, like I said, we are socialized a lot of times to put ourselves on the back burner and allow other people's interests to be first. Ultimately, I'm just glad that she did. And next we have Winch by Dolan Perkins Valdez. So I read Take My Hands by Dolan Perkins Valdez, and that book pulled at my heartstrings so bad. I think I probably cried several times throughout that book, or at least almost cried several times throughout that book. And when I finished, I decided that I was going to read her catalog because there's no way under the sun she made a book that good and she didn't have some other, really good books in her catalog. And I went to Winch. Now, Winch didn't turn out to be the book that made me cry or even almost cry, but it definitely made me think. So, Winch is about um, these plantation owners, which I refuse to call them anything else, these plantation owners who have these enslaved women that they have made their mistresses. And each year they take them on vacation to this resort where they can live freely as though they are in a relationship. Now, of course, this is historical fiction, so if I'm not mistaken, it's pre-Civil War. So I don't know exactly what year, but it is pre-Civil War. So of course, this is really kind of illegal at the time, but they could go to this resort in Ohio and they can, hang out with them, have bonfires, have dances, cook and clean. The men go fishing and they kind of just chill out with each other as girlfriends. So you have these three particular ladies who have been doing it for a while, and so they've grown a friendship. They don't live near each other, but each year they know they're going to meet up here at this resort. There's another young lady that comes along, and when I say young lady, she's literally 16, so she's a child. But we know, they did not care about that. And so she comes to the resort and she winds up meeting these ladies, and they're, doing these things and hanging out. And the young lady's name is Mawu. And so she kind of realizes, nobody's watching us. We're not like made to stay right here. Why don't we just run off? You know, and that kind of blows these women away because you've got them being manipulated, even one of them manipulated to the point where she thinks that she's in love and the man is in love and that he's going to free her and they're going to run off and live happily ever after. And so I think that kind of just put a monkey wrench in it because maybe they didn't think about it like that. They are away from, the everyday life of whatever it is they do on the plantation and how they're being treated. They get to come here once a year and they have friends, and it almost seems like a regular life, And so to say, let's run away, like, they kind of like, for what? Sister, this only happens once a year. And like, if you really look at it, it's not real. It really isn't. And so there's this whole thing where you start to see in the mind of how they are being manipulated, the way they think, and how um, you know, other people look at them coming to this island in this way. And this is, based on a true story. I looked it up. There really was a resort in Ohio that did this. It did close down and become a school or church or something like that. But, however, this book really had me in my head, like really, really thinking about how complex this is, the power dynamic, how it is uneven, and you really could never have the kind of relationship that these women think that they have. Just simply based on the power dynamic, you should have mutual respect, which they do not have. And this is out in the open, but it's really secret at the same time. They're in this sort of contained space doing this. But this was a really good book. I love a book that can make me feel something, make me think something, or make me laugh. And all of these books definitely did one or the other. I don't remember laughing at any of them, but I definitely remember feeling my heartstrings being tugged and making me really just sit down like, really? And so, yes, Winch is a good read if you enjoy historical fiction that explores power and relationships and manipulation and the complicated choices that people make under oppression. Yeah, this would be a book worth putting on your list. And last but not least, another one that I really, really enjoy. It is the reason or the one of the two books that really got me into Southern Gothic. Now, this is not a Southern Gothic, this is historical fiction, but it has a ghostly element to it. It is called Junie. It is by Aaron Crosby Eckert or Eckstein. Yeah, Eckstein, and it is about grief and guilt and love, and it's about a girl named Junie who is enslaved on this plantation. She loses her older sister in an accident, in a drowning accident. So there is the grief. She believes that it is her fault. That is the guilt. And then she also has a love interest. This guy who is the driver for a man who is coming to the plantation. What I found interesting about this book is a couple of things. One of the things that I found interesting is that Junie is a dark skinned young lady. She's 16 years old, but she works in the house with the plantation owners. So we know typically back in that day, you had to be of lighter skin or very fair complexion to be in those people's proximity. And what happens is Junie is the maid to the owner's daughter. And her and the daughter were friends as children. They grow up together, like many of them did. And then at a certain age, the enslaved children have to go off to work. And then of course that severs the friendship. In this case, the daughter wanted Junie to continue to be her friend, so they brought her in and made Junie the girl's maid. And I did have a very short conversation with the author, and I wanted to know why did she make her a dark skinned person, and because she made it a point to let us know that she was a dark skin, so I figured there's got to be a point to this. And so I don't recall specifically what the author said, or well, not all of it, but I do remember her saying that the story was based on her grandmother. And so that makes me think that maybe her grandmother was a dark skinned woman. And so the ghost element is that Junie's sister, who has died in that lake accident, is coming to Junie and having these conversations with her. The interesting part to me about this is that I don't really know if Junie is seeing a ghost or if her grief and guilt has conjured this up in her mind, like a subconscious, her mind protecting itself. We know we have extraordinary brains and that they do some of the most uh, fantastic and and just tremendous things that we don't understand. And so that is something that I still think about today. Like, was she actually seeing the ghost, or was this something that her was she like subconsciously thinking this? And I know it's a book, don't get me wrong, but it's just a question that I have. Historical fiction doesn't always look like how we think it's going to look. And this was a really good story. Those were the five historical fiction books that I feel like really do deserve more love. Now, I want to hear from you. What is a historical fiction book that you believe needs more love? Because my fake TBR has a never ending opening. Let me know in the comments. I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Until next time, see you soon.